You know, I don't tell everybody that I'm the spirit of Judas. Can you imagine? That doesn't blow over real well, right? So Jesus and Judas created Yom Kippur, and Jesus took his bread, right, and he sopped it in the bitter herb, in the sop, which represented sin, and he handed it to Judas, and when Judas took it, it said Satan entered into him because Satan wasn't there to begin with, right? So I can't say I'm going to go get in the car if I'm in the car already. So it's in the wording. And Judas said, "Not me, Lord." And Jesus said, "Go do what you must do." He cast him from the lot. He cast him into the wilderness. Judas is your wilderness goat. Now, I know that you all don't understand that because, especially Christians, because you don't understand that Yom Kippur is the ritual of atonement for the Jewish people, right? Not Passover. So he did put his blood above their door so death would pass them by. However, to do that, he had this problem, and that is that God's a lawyer and Jesus had to do everything by the law. At Jesus' crucifixion, the Pharisees all yelled, and the entire crowd of Jews yelled, "Let his blood be put on our head and the heads of our children," right? So my father would have had to judge them by the law because my father is the greatest lawyer ever, ever, right? So I want you to understand that. And so he has all kinds of loopholes and things in his law, just like he did with Jesus. And I don't understand the upcoming things. I'm not sure exactly how that works. He shows me glimpses of things, but I don't necessarily understand it, right? The reason Jesus came when he did was, both times he came, the first time and the time he's coming soon, was because the threat of the breaking the promise to Abraham, right? My father made Abraham a promise. Christians cannot replace the Jews because you are not the descendants of Abraham. That's a fact. So those of you that think you can just replace it, well, then you've just blown the whole Bible up, right? God, you're telling me God broke his first promise. He'll never break that promise to Abraham. His descendants inherit the kingdom, period. Just like he said, right? Abraham had to be willing to put his son Isaac on the altar because if my father had to be willing to sacrifice Christ, right? Christ had to come and die for them. So Abraham had to be willing to do it since Christ had to be willing to do it, except Christ had to carry it through, right? And he died for our sins. What Judas did was he carried away the debt from Israel, you see, because Israel was a dead branch in the vine of Rome, and Rome was going to cut it off. You've seen that Barabbas was in jail for killing in an uprising. There were more troops entering into Israel. I mean, go look and you'll see that Rome killed off multiple tribes, entirely wiped them out. I always forget the names of them. I'd have to go watch that video again. The Franks, the Ostrogoths, and there's a third one, and I forget who they were. But anyway, so Rome was notorious for wiping out dead branches, right? Gathering them up and throw them into the furnace, just like what Jesus said. So what he did with Judas was, so because the Jews didn't accept him, there are very few, but you know that he already knew that they weren't going to, because what did he say? He said, you don't put new wine in an old wineskin, right? Or else it'll burst and the wine and the skin will both be ruined. Or you don't put a new patch on an old garment, lest when you wash the garment, the patch will shrink and tear away from the garment. So that was him telling you that the Jews weren't going to turn, and he knew that.